Greetings, Rebel fans. My name is Jason Kelly. This is the Let's Run podcast. I want to welcome you all to the show today. We have had certainly an interesting day on UNLV Twitter. Lots going on, lots to talk about. But more importantly than pissing contests on Twitter, we do have a great game, a great opportunity for this Run and Rebel team going down to Viejas Arena in San Diego, California. Going up against a very good San Diego State team. UNLV's got an opportunity here. Now, look, San Diego State's been a tough place for us to win. We've only done it once since 2014. I believe the last time we won there, besides the win that TJ Otzelberger led us to in 2020, was 2014 or 2013. And that was the Ken Birch year, Anthony Bennett year. It's been a long time. San Diego State's a very good home environment. The Aztecs are incredibly difficult to beat on their home floor. They've already lost on their home floor in conference play to Utah State on that crazy end of game sequence a couple of weeks ago. And so, UNLV's got a tall task today, but it's a massive opportunity. I want to talk about the matchup. I want to talk about some of the players for San Diego State. I want to get into some of the keys for UNLV to perform well in this game. Obviously, there has been a little bit of a Twitter disagreement going on today. I'll save that a little bit for the end of the show because I want to make sure that the analysis about the game is for first and foremost here on the Let's Run podcast. We get into media stuff a little bit more on the Burner Brigade podcast, but this show is about the Runnin' Rebels and the UNLV football team. So let's go ahead and share my screen and let's break down this matchup. All right. Woo. All right, so San Diego State comes into the game ranked 36th in KenPom. As usual, San Diego State has they're top 10 this year in defense. Just a remarkable defensive team this year, led by guys like Miles Byrd, Nick Boyd, obviously guys like Magoon Guath, I think that's how you pronounce his name, and Jerry Coleman-Jones, really solid defensive players that can lock down that side of the floor. This is a very tough and disciplined San Diego State team that excels in the half court, that plays within themselves, and really that performs at a high level consistently. Now, they don't always have a massive ceiling. They're not one of those teams that is going to blow out, great teams consistently. But what they do is put forth a baseline defensive effort that is just really high. And that makes them really difficult to beat, especially on the road. Probably their best player, in my opinion, I think Aztec fans would agree with this, is Miles Byrd. So he's a 6'7" kind of wing/forward. You look at some of his stats, they're not spectacular. He is shooting nearly 40% from three, and that's great. But some of his more advanced analytic offensive numbers, aren't, he only has a 119 offensive rating, which, it's only 344th nationally. So it's not like he's some world beater. He does have a decently high turnover rate at times too. But he's a great defensive player. He can shoot the lights out. He's got size. He's got a good handle. Miles Byrd is the player that I'm most concerned about, shutting down for these Runnin' Rebels in this game. Look for, the issue with a guy like Miles Byrd, a 6'7" forward, is something that we kind of saw with Nick Clifford for Colorado State. Bigger forwards that score and that are kind of all-around players tend to give the Rebels fits. We saw Nick Clifford actually destroy the Runnin' Rebels a week ago in Colorado in Fort Collins. And I think that kind of matchup is going to present some issues. Who's going to guard Miles Byrd? It's probably going to be Jalen Hill, Jaden Henley. Those two guys, they are – especially Jalen Hill, not as much Jaden Henley, but Jalen Hill's definitely our best defensive player. It's going to be a struggle to shut him down and keep him contained, but hopefully the Rebels can force him into some tough shots. I think sticking a guy like Brooklyn Hicks on him, obviously Hicks is pretty undersized, but scrappy, quick, athletic, and high energy players, I think will do better on a guy like Miles Byrd. And so I fully expect to see maybe a little bit of Brooklyn Hicks on him. But yeah, Banana Man, I appreciate you, brother. This guy, he puts it well. We need a Jalen Hill masterclass. This is a game where Jalen Hill has to replicate the excellent performance he is coming off of against Utah State. Jalen Hill has been, I thought in the non-conference play that he was a little disappointing. Now, obviously, he's coming off of an ACL tear, so there should be a level of patience with him. The fact that he's playing this soon and he's playing at this level, honestly, is impressive, regardless of whether I found him disappointing in the non-conference or not. But yeah, Jalen Hill is going to be the key. If Jalen Hill can do a good job on a guy like Miles Bird, we're going to see a little bit of success. Boyd, also a very good player, shooting 37% from three. Um, Solid guard, good defensive player. Defensive rating for all of these guys is pretty high. I mean, comparing that to the Rebels. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I think that there's some potential here, but these matchups are going to be difficult. Is there a timetable for Whaley either returning or announcing a red shirt? So all I know is what has been reported by Mike Grimala in the Las Vegas Sun. Um, I'll say this every time because people get different information differently. But if I had to predict, and this is just a prediction, obviously, like I've been saying all day, I am not a sources guy. I'm not a reporter guy. My whole point here is just to give analysis. In my opinion, the season is a little too far gone. We're a little too much into the season, and I do not see Robert Whaley returning this year. I could see him taking a red shirt to maintain some eligibility. Obviously, I think he would have gotten some additional eligibility with the JUCO rule, although I'd have to double check on that because some of the rules around that JUCO extension are a little wonky. But if I had to guess, I would say Rob Whaley's probably done for the year. Probably not going to play. A lower back issue kept him out. He's an explosive player that was going to lead to a really good front court. An aspect of the team that we're just not going to have this year. That's a bummer because coming into the year, I really thought that guys like Bear Cherry and Rob Whaley were going to dominate inside throughout the whole year, but that didn't happen. It's unfortunate that the staff and the team just kind of has to adjust best as we can. As for Whiting, I would say that, and again, this is not sourced. I'm just getting this from the Las Vegas Sun article. I would say that Whiting probably has a better chance of coming back. He has 2 years of eligibility remaining. You could see Whiting again. He did have, he's been wearing a cast on his foot. He's been walking around like in a walking boot. So I'm not sure if he had a broken bone in his foot. It was never reported very well by the media. Whiting probably has a better chance of coming back. And I do think, for what it's worth, even though I know that there was some lack of belief in Whiting as a player, I do think that Whiting would be a legitimately good addition to this team right now. The injury concern was something that was already popping up at the beginning of the year. And so I don't think that we got the best version of Jace Whiting. I wish he was on the team. Do I think he's coming back? Him, I actually don't know. No clue. Whaley, I would say lean, probably not. Again, that's just from the Las Vegas Sun article. That's not like sourced from the team at all. And Whiting maybe a little bit better of a chance just because he has more eligibility, but your guys' guess is as good as mine. I think the safest assumption I think the safest assumption is that neither are coming back. I think that's the safest place to be. And we do need a backup point guard. Jalen Bedford and Brooklyn Hicks haven't been trusted to play that backup point guard role as much as I thought that they would have in Whiting's absence. We actually saw some Jaden Henley minutes at the point, which I think that was a very good decision by Coach Kruger. I think Henley bringing the ball up the court in a game like today where San Diego State is going to be pressuring the ball basically the whole time, that might be a little tougher, but I think having Jaden Henley run some point is a very good idea, and I hope that the staff tries that out today. I'd even be okay with a little bit of Jalen Hill point guard stuff just to relieve some of the pressure off DJ, but ultimately that's going to be on the staff to make that adjustment, and we're just going to have to see what they do. So keys for this game today, I think that, obviously we talked about Jalen Hill. We're going to need a good defensive performance from him. He's going to have to guard Miles Bird. The other guy that we're going to need a good performance from is Bear Cherry. Bear has been a shell of himself since the beginning of the year. He came out in those first 3 games of the year, Memphis, South Alabama, and the other team, I can't remember who that was. But he was really solid. He made 22 of his first 24 shots. He thought he played pretty good defense. And actually, Bear's defensive numbers, defensive ratings, as you can see, they're not bad. Bear is an okay defensive player in terms of rim deterrence. But we're going to need a disciplined and focused game from Bear Cherry in this one. Bear is certainly a talented player who has all the capability in the world. And if this team is going to be a competitive team in the Mountain West, it's going to take a lot more than one game against Utah State. They're going to have to win one of these tough road games. They did it last year by beating Boise at Boise. And we're going to see if they can do it this year. Is San Diego State the game where they will do it? I don't know. But, you have to take every opportunity that you can. And so Bear Cherry, I mean, he's huge this game. I think you're going to have to see a game where he can get, above that, 14 to 20 points. He's going to have to rebound a bit better. Bear Cherry's rebounding numbers haven't been spectacular this year. In fact, they've been for a starting center, they've been pretty bad actually. Bear's going to have to rebound the ball well. You're going to have to see if the Rebels want to have a chance in this game. You're going to have to see a performance out of Bear Cherry that we just haven't seen for a while. Now, is he capable of doing it? Absolutely. I think, and strange, this might be ridiculous, but I think strangely that Bear Cherry's like haircut, I think it's a good thing. I've always wondered how you can play with hair in your face like that. He was constantly flipping his hair back. That's a small thing, and I'm sure that's the least of the staff's concern. But I think it's a good sign of focus. I like it. I think it was a good decision from him, and I'm excited to see if he can. He was a little bit better against Utah State than he had been, although there were still some struggles. So Bear's going to be a big deal. The other guy that I think is going to have to get hot is Jalen Bedford. Bedford's games where he plays well, the Rebels, they win. They do really good. The games where Bedford is kind of chucking up bad contested threes, the Rebels lose. Bedford is kind of our X factor off the bench. I thought he was going to be a starter coming into the year, but just because of the roster and because of who's available, he has been shifted to the bench, and partly because of his performance as well. It's going to take a good and disciplined game from Jalen Bedford to give the Rebels a chance, and that's going to include at least a few 3-pointers. I think you're going to have to see 3-pointers from a guy like Jalen Bedford. It can't just be Julian Rishwain hitting the threes. And that's my next key. It's really 3-point shooting across the roster. DJ is a guy that I believe needs to shoot more threes. I think the staff needs to get him in positions. I would say, appreciate you interacting, brother. I would say over on that. Missed 3-pointers? Well, he'll definitely miss more than one 3-pointer. But will he make more than one 3-pointer? I think so. I think Bedford can make 2 in this game. Would I bet that? I'm not a betting man. I'm not the kind of guy that puts money down on sports, but I probably wouldn't bet it, but I think there's a really good chance that happens. But 3-point shooting in general on the roster, you're going to have to see guys like Julian Rishwain knock down 2 or 3 threes. I think DJ is going to have to knock down 2 or 3 threes. He's been struggling from 3 lately, but Poster, sorry. Yes. Yeah, I think Bedford. Sorry, he wasn't talking about 3-pointers. He was talking about poster dunks. Yeah, this has been kind of an odd thing for the team this year. Jalen Bedford tries to absolutely snatch somebody's soul every single game with a poster dunk. He has yet to complete one, but against this San Diego State defense, could I see a scenario where Bedford's streaking down the court and tries to destroy one of the San Diego State defenders with a poster dunk? I think that there's a good likelihood of that. Would I bet on it happening? No, but there's a good likelihood of that. But 3-point shooting, I think Brooklyn Hicks might have to make a 3-pointer. It's going to take a concerted 3-point effort from the entire roster, not just Julian Rishwain, in order to pull this one out. And the last but not least is I just want to see that same effort that they played with against Utah State against this San Diego State team. The Rebels, I have been as critical of anybody, of Kevin Kruger, and every single year in conference play, Kevin Kruger puts together a stretch where his guys look competitive. Now, they haven't always been able, and actually they haven't ever maintained that stretch. But what they have done is, put together good efforts. And I just want to see another good effort today. Are the Rebels going to win this game? I think KenPom, who has it as a 71-59 victory for San Diego State, I think that's probably about right. I don't think that the Rebels are going to win this game. I think I'd give it about a 15 to 20% chance at best. Now that still means they could win this game. You never know. That's why you play the game. But I just want to see a good effort. I want to see, ahead of this Wyoming game that we have to win, I want to see a concerted team effort to defensive rebound. I do not want to see possessions where San Diego State is getting 7, 8, 9, and that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but I want to see a limit of the number of possessions where San Diego State is getting 6 chances to score. In the Mountain West Conference tournament game that we played against San Diego State last year, there was a ton of offensive rebounding that roster was able to pull out against us. And I thought that we had a decent rebounding team last year. So ultimately, I just want to see a good effort. And I think that the Rebels can do that. Their 2 blowout losses were both on the road. They got blown out by Boise State. They got blown out by Colorado State. Is that what's going to happen in this game? I think there's a good chance of it. I mean, you just saw Boise State absolutely shellac Wyoming and then get run off the floor against New Mexico. So in this league, winning on the road, it's tough and blowouts can happen. But I just want to see some fight. I want to see some fight from these guys. What's my prediction for the game? I think something along the lines of 72 to 60, or 73 to 60. I see about a 10 to 15 point win for San Diego State, where the Rebels are going to show some signs of competitiveness, but ultimately San Diego State's going to kind of pull away just through physicality and defense. And I don't think it'll be a game that Rebel fans will remember. It's not going to be this is just how I see it. I don't know if it's going to be some crazy blowout, but I don't see the Rebels pulling this one out. Excited to see how DJ Thomas plays. He had a very poor game against Utah State, but he did make the shot that mattered most when it mattered most. And I was proud of DJ for shaking off all those misses around the rim in that Utah State game and really making a gutsy fall away to basically seal the game for UNLV against Utah State. In terms of the league, UNLV finishing top 5 in the Mountain West is basically a necessity in the conference tournament. Before last year, where the 6th seed New Mexico, or they might have been the 7th seed actually. I think they were the 7th seed, or I'm not 100% sure if they were the 6th or 7th seed. Colorado State was the 6th seed, and New Mexico was the 7th seed, or vice versa. But before last year, teams that didn't get first round buys in the Mountain West Conference tournament never won the Mountain West Conference tournament. And so getting a top 5 seed should absolutely be the goal for this team. Competing with the top teams, winning their games on their home floor, stealing 1 or 2 on the road. Those are crucial things that the Rebels are going to have to do. Coach needs to play the video of Curtis Terry squad coming back 10 in the last 18 seconds for the team. Yeah, I mean, maybe the craziest UNLV game of all time was on the road at San Diego State. I think it was 2003 or 2002. The Rebels are down 10 with like 18 seconds to go, and they come back and win that game. I think you need to show the replay of the running Rebels under TJ Otzelberger going into Viejas Arena and defeating the 28-0 or 27-0 San Diego State team that year. It can happen. It absolutely can happen. And I just want to see a good effort. So that's how I feel about the game. I am planning on going live on Spaces after the game in a Burner Brigade podcast, a little post-game show. And then hopefully I'll do another Let's Run podcast with a little bit of a recruiting roundup with Coach Mullen and just kind of a where we are at, a fourth of the way or something through the Mountain West Conference season that we are in. I think maybe we're 30% through the conference season. How many games have we played? We're 4-2. So, okay, yeah, we're a little bit more than a fourth of the way through the season. So yeah, I think I'll do a show tomorrow. I'll do a space after the game tonight. I will briefly talk a little bit about this spat that I have been having with Joe Arrigo, a little bit with Jeff Waddlove. I'm not sure if either of those guys would be watching this. They might. I'm not sure. But the first thing that I want to say to Rebel fans is that both of those guys, and this is more specifically about Joe than Jeff, but Joe's a really good guy. I was a part of the franchise sports team for the summer, writing about the Aces. I enjoyed that. It was a great experience. I learned a lot. Joe's a good man who's a good friend. And he and I have had some disagreements, specifically about the Pac-12 thing. And there was a bit of a Twitter spat today between he and I. And I just want to say that like the point of this podcast, of the Let's Run podcast, is not to be a reporting show where I break news about the Runnin' Rebels or the UNLV football team. It's not a traditional show. It's not traditional media whatsoever. The point of this show is to give fans another fan and to give fans a place to talk about the Runnin' Rebels in less traditional ways and in ways that are, new media in a sense. I'm not the guy you come to if you want to see stuff about recruiting news. It's not me. Coaching changes, not going to be me. I don't talk to people generally inside either team. I won't say that I've never talked to anybody, but I don't talk to people. That's not who I am. That's not why I do this. I want UNLV fans to have a community online. I'm in law school. I'm going to be a lawyer next year. This is a thing that's a side thing for me. I do it because I love UNLV sports. I love UNLV athletics. I love the city of Las Vegas. And some people have certain lanes that they stick to. They're in the reporting world. They're in the news breaking world. And some people have things where they just are pure commentary. I have been scorched earth about this Pac-12 thing. It's an opinion that I have. Now, it's an opinion that I've thought about a great deal, that I've researched, that I've tried to formulate, through well-reasoned thinking. But it is just my opinion. I'm not a decision maker. And so what we need to understand is that the point of this show is just to give UNLV fans another avenue to listen to things. If you want reporting, there are plenty of guys that can do that. There are plenty of guys and gals, people like Callie Finn. Joe is a reporter. Steve Cofield does a little bit of reporting. Mike Ramala, I think, is still the best person for UNLV basketball. That's them. This is something completely different than that. And I'm very happy to be in this realm. I'm happy because I get to interact with Rebel fans every single day. We get to build something together. The burner, or even just like the UNLV Let's Run podcast space is just meant for fans to connect with each other. That's the whole reason this is happening. So no ill will towards anybody that's in different lanes than I am. I understand that I can be arrogant, that I can be a smart ass, that I can be smart alecky, online sometimes. I can be a little snarky. I should be better online. I think we all can be better online. But I just want everybody, and I will continue to say this because new people join. We're just about at 200 people listening right now on a Saturday afternoon, 100 between YouTube and Twitter. We disagree, but we meet fans, we connect, we grow, we build a UNLV online fan community that is durable. And if we disagree, we disagree, and that's okay, And so specifically to Joe, I just want to say, appreciate you, man. I do recommend that everybody follow Joe, that he's a good guy for what he does. We're in different lanes, and that's completely okay. Joe's a good man. And any burners that are listening to this, or anybody online that has any sort of animus towards him or any other media member, I would say just, take a step back, because these are good people. Even if we get snarky and we disagree and we have disagreements, it's okay. We're all fans of the same university. So I appreciate you guys. I'm sure that there will be more talk about this. I hope that this can be a positive community for you to enjoy UNLV sports, to build a community in the city of Las Vegas and with UNLV fans. There's a reason why it continues to grow. The podcast just keeps getting bigger. The Burner Brigade, those shows do really well, and they're to entertain. So we're not. Yeah, at least he's not a UNR person. This is for us. This is UNLV stuff. We are here. This is the city of Las Vegas. There was a space for this kind of show. There was a space for this kind of fan community, and I tried to fill it, and I'm doing the best that I can. And I fall short all the time with it, but I appreciate you guys. You guys are wonderful. UNLV is a brand that I believe in, and the reason why I've been as fierce about this Pac-12 thing as I have been is because I genuinely believe what I'm saying. I really do. It's not a question of knowledge. It's a question of judgment. I think that people at the university are using bad judgment in terms of the Pac-12 situation. And I disagree with the direction that they're taking. And I think that the university is being. I guess I just don't agree. I don't agree. And you can listen to me. You cannot listen to me. You can think that what I say is repetitive. I get it. If it's annoying, tune it out. Do whatever you got to do. But I'm just going to keep speaking my mind, and I'm going to keep spreading the UNLV message as much as I can, and trying to connect our fan base with other fan bases, because I think there's a lot of room to grow. And UNLV deserves better than being stuck in the Mountain West Conference, and I want to avoid that scenario at all costs. Um, and that's no disrespect to the Mountain West. I believe in UNLV as a power conference type program. I do. I really do. But I think that you have to prove that. I think that when you climb a ladder, you don't skip steps. You climb up one at a time, and that's the safest and fastest way to get up. So, yep, everybody has a right to their own opinions. You're completely allowed to believe that I'm full of crap, and you're completely allowed to think that I'm just some idiot on a podcast, because that's exactly what I am. So, please reach out to me. Please DM me if you want to talk individually. I'm willing to talk to any Rebel fan about anything. I'm willing to try and defend my positions. And yeah, so guys, this San Diego State game is a huge opportunity for the Runnin' Rebels. I cannot wait to watch it. I can't wait to see how they respond, if they can maintain their positive momentum, or I just want to see what Kevin Kruger is going to get the guys to play like today. So I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful game. We will talk after the game, and let's run. Thanks, Finzik. Yep, everything's taken with a grain of salt. Let's run, boys.